President Traore of Burkina Faso has set a precedent that other African leaders have begun to follow. Before now, most African leaders have been known to cower before the West, dancing to the tunes of Western leaders. These weak leaders, in exchange for personal benefits, have refused to stand against the dictates of the West. But ever since Traore and the other leaders of the Sahel came to power, things have begun to change. Some African leaders have developed a backbone and have started making demands, asserting their sovereign rights, and standing against the West. One such leader is the newly elected first female president of Namibia. In a move that has shocked the West, particularly the US, the president has announced new visa rules for US travelers. This is in response to the current trend of tightening immigration laws imposed by President Trump. In this video, we will analyze the president's move and reveal how this move is gradually becoming a trend in Africa. In July 2024, the Namibian government announced that it has made plans to adjust its visa policy to match the requirements of countries that mandate visas for Namibian citizens. Right now, the newly elected president of Namibia, Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, has pledged to implement this adjustment. Before we proceed, here is a reminder to like this video, drop a comment, and subscribe to our channel so that you can get more videos like this. You see, Africans have always had issues when it comes to traveling outside their country to the West. Take Namibian citizen Michelle Nahoya, for example. In an interview, Michelle revealed that she had spent almost $500 on the application process for a visa to visit Canada. Despite this, she has been waiting for more than 2 years to receive her visa. For those of you wondering why Michelle wants to visit Canada, she wants to visit Canada so that she can see her aunt and cousins whom she has not seen for almost a decade. Michelle further revealed that the application process involved filling in multiple forms, and among other requirements, she has also had to provide 6 months of bank statements, an invitation letter, plus a detailed travel history. The worst part is that there is no way to apply for a Canadian visa in Namibia. So, to apply, she has to travel from Namibia to South Africa to submit her biometric data, which involves giving her fingerprints and having a photo taken. Yet, after all this stress and the amount of money spent, she has still not been given her visa. In her own words, "It has been lengthy and frustrating. I haven't been given any reason why it's taken so long." Unfortunately, this situation is not just peculiar to Michelle. This incident is reminiscent of countless situations faced by African travelers intending to travel to the West. According to a consultancy firm, Henley & Partners, in 2022, 7 of the top 10 countries with the highest visa rejection rates in the bloc of European countries known as the Schengen area were African. The reason for this is that Western countries regard Africans as a risk. In fact, most of these countries do not want Africans in their countries. In recent times, Western countries like the US have tightened their immigration laws, making it even more difficult for Africans in particular to travel to the US. Earlier this year, 22 African countries were the target of President Trump's visa restrictions. In addition, all African countries were exempted from the US visa-free regime. While this is not a new development, it certainly points out how the West views African countries, but not only has the restrictions tightened, but the whole process has also become very expensive. According to a report by the Lago Collective, the European Union made more than 53 million euros on rejected visa applications from African countries in 2023 alone. The report further revealed that visas were rejected for multiple reasons, but most of the rejections were based on reasonable doubt about the visa applicant's intention to return home. In simple terms, the West does not want Africans to permanently reside in their country. This is why they have made the process expensive and challenging. In June 2024, the price of Schengen short-term visas went up from 80 euros to 90 euros for adults. And in October 2023, the UK visa fee rose from £100 to £115. But even after managing to get the visas, African travelers say their experiences at border security make them feel uncomfortable and unwanted. Winnie Byanyima, the head of UNAIDS and who is herself Ugandan, drew attention to this when she tweeted in 2022, "I'm at Geneva Airport. I'm almost refused to board. All documents scrutinized over and over again. Calls made. I board last." Now, the fact is that Western countries are sovereign countries, and as such, They have the right to implement any law that they feel is beneficial to their country. However, this also means that African countries have the right to treat these countries in the same way they treat Africans. This is the law of reciprocity that Namibia intends to implement by April 1st, 2025. You see, as it happens in most African countries, Westerners coming into Namibia do not go through the stress that Africans go through. In fact, they do not even need to get a visa before coming into the country. Once they decide to visit Namibia, all they need to do is pack their luggage, pay for the flight, and board the plane. These Westerners can even stay in Namibia without a visa if they intend to stay for less than 90 days. Now, for decades, the Namibian government has hoped that the West would reciprocate visa-free entry for Namibian citizens, but nothing of such has happened. Instead, the restrictions and regulations have even become tighter. For instance, Namibians still face a lengthy process if they wish to enter Germany. But that's not all. In July 2023, the UK tightened its visa policy for Namibians, citing a large number of asylum applications. According to the CEO of the Hospitality Association of Namibia, Gita Peitzold, this move by the UK government may have been the final impetus for Namibia to adopt a different approach toward countries that refuse to reciprocate visa-free entry. She said, "As reciprocity has not materialized, the Namibian government feels it would only be fair and equal to Namibians to have the same kind of policy as we are being subjected to." According to the new policy, starting from April 1st, citizens from 30 countries, including the US, Germany, and Japan, will need to obtain a visa and pay approximately $90 to enter Namibia. These include all non-reciprocating countries, meaning the new visa rules will affect citizens from all countries that require Namibian passport holders to have visas. In a statement released by Namibia's Immigration Center, it said, "Namibia has extended gestures of goodwill and favorable treatment to nationals of various countries. However, despite these efforts, certain nations have not reciprocated. In light of this disparity, the government has deemed it necessary to implement a visa requirement to ensure parity and fairness in diplomatic interactions." Now, the new administration of President Nandi has decided to adopt this policy set by the past administration. To affirm this decision, the United States Embassy in Namibia revealed that the Namibian government has made it clear that US citizens traveling to Namibia will require visas to enter the country for tourism purposes. Beginning April 1st, 2025, the Namibian government will require US citizen tourists to obtain a visa prior to entering the country. Visitors are recommended to apply for their visa in advance of planned travel through Namibia's online visa on arrival portal, the embassy stated via X. Visitors using this online visa application system must carry a hard copy of their approval notice when they travel, the statement added. It also stated that visitors arriving in Windhoek, Walvis Bay, or entering at high-volume border crossing points will also have the option of purchasing a tourist visa upon arrival at the respective airport or border crossing point. Now, since the announcement, this move has received mixed reactions. Many Namibians like Michelle see the new policy as an example of Namibia asserting itself. Finally, I hope they also require them to submit a Bible of documents, take medical tests, and Namibian language tests, wrote one commenter. Another said, "If I need to bring bank statements and all sorts of documents and still buy a visa just to gain entry to a country, that country should also do the same to gain entry to my country." According to Emmanuel Bensa, an African Union and ECOWAS analyst based in Ghana, Namibia's approach reflects its desire to change some of the narratives that have been happening on the continent. However, analysts in the tourism industry believe that there may be repercussions. You see, Namibia is among the few African countries that depends on tourism. In 2022, the tourism sector accounted for 7% of GDP, making it the third largest contributor to the economy, with most tourists coming to countries such as Germany and the US. As a result, analysts like Bensa fear that the new policy would affect the tourism industry. The Hospitality Association of Namibia has also raised concerns about the message it sends to the global travel trade. According to the CEO of the Hospitality Association, the visa fees could alter travel plans, especially for the lower and middle market. People might just choose to go to South Africa, where they don't need a visa, he said. However, there are those who believe that the policy would not affect the tourism industry. Sonin Rupesh, a tourism expert based in Windhoek, believes the visa move will not deter visitors. He stated that it will not change much. You can still get on a plane without a visa. It's just when you get to the airport you will fill out a form, pay the fees, and enter. In our opinion, this is true, as opposed to before when Western travelers to Namibia could stay in the country without a visa. The new policy simply means that they only need to get a visa on arrival for just $90. This is even very easy compared to the challenges faced by African travelers to the West. No Western country has ever afforded to grant Africans visas on arrival. African travelers are required to get their visas before paying a visit to the West. And the process to get this visa is not just expensive, but difficult. The worst part is that despite all the challenges and financial expenses, the African traveler might still be denied a visa. So, the new Namibian policy is not even strict enough. But we can understand why the Namibian government would not want to make it as challenging and expensive as that of the West. The country still depends on tourism, and making its immigration policy challenging might discourage Western tourists from visiting the country. So, the new policy is a balance between wanting to assert its stand and managing its tourism industry. Now, Namibia is not the only country that has implemented the law of reciprocity regarding its visa policy. Morocco has also implemented a similar policy in recent times. Earlier this month, Moroccan parliamentary advisors Khalid Setting and Lubna Alawi raised a proposal that seeks to establish a visa requirement for European travelers based on a policy of reciprocity. You see, like in Namibia, European Union citizens can freely enter Morocco without a visa for stays of less than 90 days. However, for citizens of Morocco, they have to obtain a visa to travel to Europe. But the process of obtaining visas is complex and costly, and worst, has a high refusal rate. When visas are rejected, the several millions of euros spent acquiring the visas are not reimbursed. In 2023, for instance, more than 136,000 Schengen visa applications by Moroccan citizens were refused, generating a total cost of 118 million dirhams, that's about 11 million euros wasted in acquiring visas. This is the reason Khaled Seti and Lubna Alawi, representing the National Union of Moroccan Workers, proposed the notion of striking a balance. Their proposal simply involves requiring European nationals to obtain a visa before coming into the country. This means that there would be no more visas on arrivals for European travelers to Morocco. In a formal question to Foreign Minister Nasser Bourita, the legislators argued that while several European countries generate substantial revenue from visa fees imposed on Moroccans, their citizens are currently allowed to enter Morocco freely without a visa. If this proposal is adopted, it would be a turning point in relations between Morocco and its European partners. However, since the proposal was announced, it has ignited a heated debate in European media, raising concerns about potential disruptions to travel and diplomatic relations. While this proposal is based on the principle of reciprocity, some analysts, especially those in the tourism industry, have raised concerns about the application of the proposal. They believe that it has the potential of impacting the Moroccan economy. You see, just like Namibia, tourism is one of the country's main economic drivers, and Europeans account for a significant proportion of foreign visitors. In 2024, for instance, Morocco welcomed 8.8 million foreign visitors, most of whom were from Europe. So, these experts believe that introducing a visa could dampen this momentum and discourage some European travelers from choosing Morocco as a destination. In addition to this, restricting access for European tourists contradicts Morocco's long-term tourism strategy, especially at a time when the country is striving to solidify its status as a premier regional and international destination. Supporters of the proposal have, however, argued that Morocco must assert fairer travel policies in response to European visa restrictions. Currently, discussions around this proposal are still ongoing, and the world is watching closely. These visa policies are a reflection of the assertiveness of African leaders in the current geopolitical era. As earlier stated, African leaders have begun to grow backbone in regard to their relations with the West. In our opinion, this is all thanks to the coups which brought strong African leaders who are not afraid to make tough decisions. Just look at what they have accomplished since they came into power. Like a domino, Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso kicked out French forces and ended the colonial pact, which gave France significant control over Francophone Africa, thereby causing France to lose the strong grip it has had on these nations. But that's not all. They have also taken control of their resources, nationalizing them to the benefit of the people. Ibrahim Traore, for instance, has suspended the export of gold, the country's major export product, to the West, so that the country can take charge of the gold mining industry. He has also established a gold refinery, the first of its kind in the country, so that gold would no longer be sold only in its pure form at a cheap rate, but in its refined state. Through this, Burkina Faso will get tremendous value for its resources. Mali has also taken a similar step, signing a deal with Russia to build a gold refinery for the country. None of the democratic leaders in these countries had ever thought of building a refinery, yet they are hailed by the West as their allies. And why not when these leaders turn the other way to ensure continued exploitation of their country's resources? What a shame. These leaders have proven that they are ready to defend the complete independence of their countries, no matter the cost. To the shock of the West, they have chosen to partner with countries that are rivals to the West, including Russia and China, two countries that prefer to work with Africa based on mutual benefits and not control. Recently, Niger made history by becoming the first African country to send the US packing. This is something that has never happened. The US military presence in the country has not done anything to alleviate the insecurity that has plagued the country for years. In fact, Niger has no visible benefit from the presence of US forces in the country. It makes us wonder whether the previous government was blind when it signed such an agreement with the United States. However, the military government of Niger stood its ground, refused to give in to the condition of the United States, and instead sent them packing. Chad has also taken a similar step, threatening to end the status of force agreement, which allowed the United States military forces to remain in the country. While the military leaders in the Sahel are causing tremendous changes in African geopolitics, other African countries are also awakening. Take a look at South Africa, which has decided to take an ally of the United States, Israel, to court, accusing it of committing genocide. Standing against an ally of the United States means standing against the United States, but South Africa has refused to cower and is charging ahead despite the risk and the threats from the United States. Things are indeed changing, and a revolution has started that cannot be stopped. It's now left for other African countries to follow in the footsteps of this revolution. What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments section below. Don't forget to like this video, drop a comment, and share.